Okay, everyone, let's wait just another minute or two for some people that are just now logging in, and we'll go ahead and get started in just about a minute or two. Thank you. Okay, as people are still logging in, we'll go ahead and get started because we're right about 10 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to thank you very much for taking time today to go ahead and attend our webinar. Today's webinar is on the seamless integration of Digital Takeoff with our SAGE estimating system. My name is Mark Rank, and I'm a field sales engineer here at SAGE, and I'm happy to help you guys take a look at this product. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. If for some reason you have any questions, I'll try to answer those at the end. If you want to, I'll go ahead and type those in the chat. I'll make every attempt to try to answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. What I'm going to show you today is what we call the next generation of Takeoff, and I've only got a couple slides here before I get into the product. First of all, the older Takeoff solutions and some of the current ones that are out there, like digitizers, actually produce, you need to actually convert to TIFF files from a PDF file. The most common file today that's used to transport drawings, electronic drawings for projects is a PDF file. That's about 98% of all projects now are available in PDF drawings. Some of the older technology also just does simple measurements and some basic calculations. The way you integrate is either a direct entry where it will go directly into a cell or into a group of cells, or cut and paste. It's only a one-way communication. It doesn't go both ways, and it doesn't have an audit trail. So it will transfer the information that you have, and the feature sets are usually fairly basic. When we get into what we call our next generation of Takeoff, some of the things that are different is you read a raw PDF file. You don't have to convert it, which takes a lot of time, and that's for 2D purposes. So most of your drawings that are in PDF are 2D. You also can actually have simple or extensive customized formula capabilities. So other than just doing areas and volumes, you can actually go way beyond that, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we get into the presentation. There is bilateral integration, if I can even speak today, there is two-way communication between the estimate and the Takeoff tool with audit capability, and we'll actually walk through that a little bit more today too. There are a lot more advanced feature sets in the next generation of products. One thing that you might find interesting is you'll have a common integration to both 2D and 3D. The bridge product I'm going to show you today is the same bridge product that you would use if you're integrating with a 2D application or a 2D project or a 3D project in our Navisworks. And I might add that we do have webinars. I think we have one coming next week or later this week on the Navisworks integration, which we'll be introducing here next month and launching that. The last thing I'd like to mention is in the Takeoff tools of the next generation, specifically the one we're working with today, allows you to have multi-users. So in other words, I can have a bunch of people doing takeoffs on the same plans at the same time, and it will keep track of each person and calculate each person individually and then tally it up by estimator. And we'll walk through a little bit of that today also. So without any further do here, let's go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen so that we have, everyone now should see a screen with eTakeoff on it. I'm going to shut off my email so that I don't see all the emails that are coming in. So what we have before us here is we have the eTakeoff tool, and that comes in two forms. We have actually Dimension, which is the 2D takeoff portion, and then we have Bridge, which is the link between the eTakeoff and Sage Estimating. What we see in front of us, right in the middle of the screen, is our plans. On the lower left-hand corner, you can see that we have a list of plans for this project. To change to a different set of plans, or like flipping the drawing, I can just double-click on the plan that I want to go to, and it will change into the screen. I'll go back to this one here. To maneuver around in here, I can actually scroll in with my wheel by rolling away from me, or I can roll toward me. If I want to pan around, we can pan around, so I can actually go specifically to a spot. We have quick keys that allow us to actually go to a full view, or I can actually zoom in to an area like the pool area where we have here. So there's a lot of different ways to actually maneuver around that. And those ways are actually up on our ribbon bar right here, where I can do it from here, or I can do it from my mouse. If I have, if you hold your mouse over any of our ribbon bar commands, you'll see a help window come down, and if there's a shortcut key available, we'll actually tell you that. In this case, it's the F key for full view. It's interesting that over the years, users have asked for shortcut keys because it's so much quicker when I have a free hand using my mouse with my right or my left, and I have a free hand instead of moving my mouse up to hit a command. So let's say, for example, we want to do a simple takeoff. What I want to actually go through today is show you a couple things that are the same that most systems out there will do, but then I want to deviate from that and actually focus on the differences that we call next generation level. So in this case here, let's say that we want to take off the area of the pool area outside the pool, and we want to put an epoxy floor coating on it. Simply, I would go and set my scale by coming up here to the ruler, clicking my ruler, and coming down with a pull-down list of all the scales that I have available. And this can be added to if you want. Pick the scale that I want, 2/32 equal a foot, and then go ahead and hit OK. I also have the ability to go in, if I were to go pick a, let me come over here, a measurement here, I can actually put 2 points and then tell it what the measurement is, and it will set the auto scale for me. So let me come back over here. So there's several ways we can set scales. Even PDF files can be off scale. Sometimes if they're a copied file and you can see that the drawing isn't quite perpendicular or to the window, or you got a black edge around it, you can see that that's been copied, and it may not be true to scale, so then you can actually set your own scale. So to start with here, I'm just going to pick my area function here, and it's going to ask me, what do I want to call this? So I can actually label these. In labeling these, I can actually collect a list of traces that I have over here that I can reuse on each project, no matter which project I have. So I'm going to call this just epoxy floor coating, and I can actually customize it. So let's go in here and let's pick an orange color. We can define colors if you want to also. I'm just going to go ahead and pick an orange color here. We can put a different texture on it, so I'll go ahead and put a diagonal texture on it. The window up in the upper right-hand corner just shows me what I'm going to use for representation here. I can actually increase the transparency so it shows up a little better. And I've checkmarked this to save as standard trace, because when I actually hit OK here, it comes over and puts it into my trace list, which is a list of areas or items that we're going to use for taking off. So if I load another project in here, that will always be available for me to use in this particular project or the project that I'm using. So now that I've actually loaded that, let's go ahead and do a takeoff. You can see over here on the right in the quantity list that it's actually loaded. And let's start by just starting at any corner and touching the corners and just go around the perimeter here. Very similar to other products. that we have here. Now, if I get to a point here and I want to zoom in, I can hold my mouse down and we'll actually zoom into the corner so you can actually hit the corner specifically. So we'll go through here. Now, what I want to do here is I do not want the pool area, so I want to exclude this pool area. If I continue to go, you'll notice it still thinks it's doing the same measurements, but I don't want to continue. I want to discontinue, but I want to keep track of that measurement. Now that I've done this, I can hit the undo key here or the backspace key. If you notice, if I hold over this, the backspace key works the same way. And I can go and backspace all the way back as far as I want to go. And I'll just finish this off. So we do keep track of all the way back to the beginning if I want to undo. So as I mentioned, we want to continue this. Let's go ahead and hit disconnected point. That says, okay, now the next point, and we'll keep it separate. And I'm going to zoom in here to the pool area. And I'm going to start going around the pool. But I'm going to go counterclockwise because in our system, counterclockwise is a negative. So we're going to back it out. And you'll notice that when I go around a curve, rather than trace it, I'm only touching 3 points. And that's the beginning, the middle, and the end. And then we hit the C key, which says that's a curve. And it will actually connect the dots and put that on all of these. So as I go around here, I now back this out, and you'll see that the color changed to say it's backed out. My net area now is 1,319 square feet. I've backed out 600 square feet for the pool. I can actually put a description on here. So let's put a description and call this the pool area. And now when I press enter, I see that we have epoxy of this quantity for the pool area. And then I can look out here and see that I've got my drawing color-coded based on that. Well, I see there's a couple other rooms that I want to actually add, or that I want to add epoxy floor coating in it. So I'm going to go ahead and double-click this to load it again. And I need the pool area over here, or the pool equipment room, the sprinkler, and so forth. I can go and touch the perimeters around it, or I can go and touch what we call our 2-point rectangle, which is just a quick way of doing rooms that are rectangular or square. So I can take that room here, jump over there, go to my workout room here, and then I can put a description on here of, I'll just put in multiple rooms. And then what we see over here in our measurement list is we see that we have 742 square feet of multiple rooms that we're putting in epoxy plus the pool area and a grand total of this. Now, this isn't anything new to systems that are out there now. But this is just how we do it, and kind of gives you a little bit of a start of as we get going here. Let's take it up a notch here, and let's actually go into some of the things that are a little different. Most systems will do a simple calculation and some simple formulas. But let's say, for example, I'm going to do a wall. We have the ability to do what we call assemblies. Now that most of you are using SAGE estimating, you understand what an assembly is. It's a group of components that have a common element that you can calculate those components by taking off a couple different measurements. For example, a wall. So let me go into assemblies that I have over here in the dimension product, and let me scroll down here, and let's go ahead and load this 2x4 wall. As I load that over here, it's going to want the length of the wall, but you'll see that it's got variables here very similar to what we have in SAGE. So that's the capability that we can put here, is we can create simple to sophisticated formulas with those variables and have that information. Now, it's got information in some of these variables, like 16. That was the default that I put in there, but I can change it. I'll change it to 24, and we'll do both sides. We also have pull-down list capability. So I can say that let's go ahead and order 4x12 sheets. And what it will do is it'll produce, and then let's figure the track size, we're going to do a 3-inch wall. It'll produce all of those quantities by just taking off the length of wall. So I'll zoom in here, and I'm going to take off this length of wall here. So we've taken off that length of wall, and well, I need to give it the wall height. So let's say down here it's 10 feet for the first floor, and you can see that we've taken off 35 lineal feet of wall. And I will put a description on this of first floor walls. And you'll see that when we finish that, it will actually come over here and figure out, oops, oh, I'm not paying attention here. I need to put in this here. I typed the description here and actually. Then I'll put a description on it and say, floor walls. So what we've gotten here is we've got this wall system with the specs and the measurements that we want to have. It's calculated all my quantities, and it's actually come down here and given me first floor wall with that quantity. So just to give you an idea, we can do multiple calculations just off of a single line that you can actually define. Let's go to the second floor here, where what we have is we have a takeoff that's already been completed. This is all my floor coverings and my base and so forth for the second floor. And I can have a legend here that will actually show me what those quantities are with the color coding. That legend is just a on and off switch if we want to, so we can turn it off so that it doesn't show. But if you do have it on, you can print this out in a PDF format and have this to pass on. But the task that I have before me is I need to take off this third floor. So I'm going to go to the third floor, and I notice that it's the same layout as the second floor. And because of that, and you'll find that in some projects. You know, you get into a multi-level office building, maybe the core area is the same for each level. And some systems will say just take off one and then do a multiplier times the number of floors. Well, then I don't get the detail that I would like to have. I just get a summation of that. But I'd like to have the detail. So I would like to have the same detail on floor 3 as I do on floor 2. So let's go back to floor 2. And one of the features that I want to show you that will accomplish this is called our favorite feature. And those are broken up into 2 different areas. We have a global favorites, and then we have project favorites. Project favorites allows me to repeat things in this project anywhere in this project. Global favorites means I can actually have things in here that are available to all projects that I get involved with, and I'll show that in just a minute. In this case here, we want to grab all of the takeoffs that we've done on floor 2, so it highlights them, and I'm going to go ahead and just grab this and drag it over into my project favorites. It's going to take all of those and duplicate 207 measurements over here into my project favorites. Now I'm going to go ahead and change the description and just say this is my floor covering standards for this particular building. And I'm going to go to floor 3. Now I can zoom in here so I can see this a little bit better. What I can do is I can grab this, pull it over, and you'll notice it's still got the same shape that we did. I can lay it over the top. And once I lay it over the top and then let go, it will actually transfer all of that information but calculate it to the building or to the third floor. So I get that same level of detail now with my legend here. I'm going to turn that off. With that on the third floor. So that's how fast we can actually do the takeoff of the third floor. It's also itemized. So when I click on that, it'll tell me that this is carpet type 1. It will tell me that this is concrete coating on this one, where it's got a clear coat on it. I might add here, we can also deal with layers. So if I don't want to see everything here, and I'll turn the legend on here just to kind of show you, we can turn things off with our layer list. So I can say, I just want to look at all the carpet, for example, that is on this floor, and then I want to print that out or send that as a PDF file to out into the field. So now It has all that other information, but it's just displaying the carpet information, and that's all I get to see. Or I can say add the base. Let's don't deal with the carpet. Let's just look at the base. So you have that filtering capability that you have here, and that's through our layering. We have even a stronger one through filtering, but for lack of time on this, I won't show that, but it's even more detailed than this. So we have that ability to slice and dice that information on the takeoff level. So let me go ahead and move on to the next thing. One of the things that's really different between this and a lot of the competition out there is when I get to a detailed drawing, oftentimes when I zoom in here, I can see that these detailed drawings have different scales. In this case here, fortunately, most of these are 1/2 inch. But as I scroll over here, I can look in this and I can see this is a 1/4 inch per foot. Or if I come down here, this particular scale is 6 inches per foot. Most competitors, what they'll do is they'll say, well, go ahead and copy this the number of times based on the number of different scales you have, and then scale that drawing for that, and make sure you take off, realize the scale for that particular drawing when you're taking it off. We don't do that. What we do here is we allow the ability to have multiple scales on one drawing. And you can have as many scales as you want. And then you define the area where that scale is. And then I just put the description so that it was good for purposes of observation here, that anything in this particular area here will be 1/4 inch per foot. So if I do measurements in here, it'll be 1/4 inches per foot. If I do measurements down here, it'll be 6 inches per foot. If I do any measurements out here, because I set the page scale for 1/2 inch per foot, because all of these are in the same, it would be 1/2 inch per foot. So we can have multiple scales for the same drawing. Let's take a look at our foundation plan. And one of the things that I've been asked to do is I've been asked to figure out the volume of concrete for the piers that we're drilling for this particular foundation. And I know all the piers are here, so I need to count those and do some calculations. And if I zoom in here, you can see that we have a lot of different piers. Some of them might be a little bit harder to see because of the lines over them, but they're still there. And most systems would actually have you count these manually. There's a patented feature that we have here called pattern search. So if I go to my drawings tab on my menu and I have pattern search here, the first thing I'm going to do is set a search area. And I can do that as a rectangle or as a poly shape, which could be any shape that I want. And you can have as many search areas as you want on the drawing. If I had a 2-phase project and I wanted to separate it by phase, I can do that and have 2 different search areas so I could keep track of the quantities by phase if I wanted to. So there's a lot of little things that you can do with that. We're going to go ahead and just do a simple one here. And when it asks for a description, I usually tell people, take the drawing number. That's what's unique to every page on your project. So let's go ahead and just use the drawing number. So I'll just hit S1.1. And I'll just press enter. And then it's going to ask me to go ahead and place a spot up in the upper left-hand corner and the right-hand corner so it can do a rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of be a little bit tight here. Go from there to about there. So that's the search area I'm defining. So it doesn't search the entire drawing. Now we have the option if you want to search the entire drawing. It'll take a little longer because it takes time to go through all of that search. I can turn that off. It's there. It's just a toggle switch on and off. The next thing I want to do is I want to go in here and highlight the symbol that I want to search for. Now this feature doesn't work, not only works for symbols or things that are on the drawing, objects and so forth. It'll work for text. One of the things that really works really nice is if I want to count my doors and I have door schedule numbers next to my doors, I can do all my door counts on a plan. I can do that for fixtures, everything. So I'm going to hit start here, changes my mouse to rubber band mode. I'm going to zoom in here. And I'm just going to stretch a box around the symbol I want to search for. And that's what I'm searching for. Takes me to my search window, shows me the item I'm searching for. I want to search based on the search area. I could actually set the search area on the fly, or I can do the entire drawing. I like to set it up in advance. If this was a different shape that was perpendicular to and rotated around the drawing, like for example, a light fixture or a switch or a receptacle where it's always perpendicular to the wall, we can search all 4 rotations, so it will actually search every rotation instead of just the uprights. I come in here and it's not a stud wall, so I could either edit this and add something on the fly here, or go to my list, which we have, and I'll pick this shaft, and that's the symbol that will actually mark it. So now I'm going to go do a search, and I've got it searching in the background here, right in the lower right-hand corner. When it's done, it'll change to a binoculars. So let me scroll out here, and if I wanted to, we could go do something else. But you can see how fast this is. It searched the entire drawing already, and it found 244 of them. I'll double-click on this and see what my results are. So here it shows my results, and you can see that it even found those that were kind of covered up. Now, if I want to see before I accept this, I can say, go ahead back to the drawing and review and show me where it found it. Now, it found everything, and that's a pretty clear indication that, and right where it was located. If there were things that I didn't want it to do, I could actually unselect it, and it would be red. And I can, so this is just kind of a verification just to look and see that I've got that. Looks like I've got everything. I'll go back here, and we'll hit save. Now what that does is it comes over and adds that to my measurement list that we have 244 of these piers. So when I highlight that, I have to finish the rest of it. I need to tell it that it's 24 inches in diameter, and they're about 20 feet deep, and that's quite a volume. But then again, we're looking at 244 of these. I'll put a description on here and simplify. Oops, I keep doing that, don't I? Accept that. Now I'll put a description on here, and I'll just simplify it to piers. And I've taken that off. Now I've noticed on this drawing here, and that's what I was tasked to do. If I were to do that manually, or the way most people would do that, I wouldn't even be done counting the piers in this case here. Here I'm moving on, and I'm already done. Now I'm going to move it into estimating. So you can see some of the advantages of the new technology leaps that we've actually taken in this next generation of takeoff. Quite impressive and time-saving. I can see that I've done some takeoff here, or someone has done some takeoff here on these slabs. So if I highlight one of these slabs, I can see over here that it's slab section 1. I can see that it's got the concrete strength and so forth on here. And let me give me some room here. And I can see that it's got wire mesh, my specs. We have the ability also to include work breakdown structures. So if you're using work breakdown structures in Sage, which most people are, we can import those work breakdown structures and actually enter them in, while we're doing a takeoff, in Dimension here. So you can see that we've actually added some work breakdown structures that are filled out here, system and so forth, all of those that are here, and so I can actually add more information here if I want to. But I've got that information on all of this, so when I click over here, it shows me the information for that. But I want to start taking this over to estimating now. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up a product called Bridge. And this happens to be the same product that if you attend the Navisworks integration for 3D or for BIM modeling, it's the same product, so you don't have to learn the product twice. Very nice product. It's actually an intelligent product. So in other words, when I click that and I'm on this project, it says, oh, we don't have a bridge between this and any estimates out there. Would you like to create one? Sure, I'd like to create one. So I'll come up here and we'll name this estimate. And I'll call it the same thing that I named an estimate in Sage. What I did earlier is I went to Sage and created an empty estimate called office building. So I'll just do it the same thing. And in there, I'll come down here and say, okay, well, I'm using SQL. This works both for SQL or Pervasive, whichever one you have. I'm going SQL, so I'm going to go say, well, there's that blank estimate that I created. I want to map these two together, so I'm going to hit OK. What it does, the database that is attached to that estimate, it will move it and read it in Bridge. So that same database that you get to look at in Sage, I see in Bridge. So here's my items. I can actually drill down to items and see all of my items at a level. I can see my assemblies. so I can actually go through here and see all my assemblies. You'll notice that the assemblies that I have here, if I scroll over here, are very similar, if not the same as what I have here. We can import these into eTakeoff, into Dimension. So when I look at these over here, let me kind of move here. We're doing it all on one screen. I might add at this point, we support multiple monitors, and I'm finding that a lot of our customers are getting into bigger monitors. I run on 2 monitors here. I also have another system I run on 3 32-inch monitors, and it's fantastic. It's really nice where I can actually have estimating in one monitor. I can have my bridge on another one and have my takeoff here, or whatever you want to do. It's kind of nice, but when you're showing it here, we only have one monitor we can show at this point. It overlaps. But I can see that this is the actual trace that we used for these particular takeoffs, and it's the same thing that we have over here underneath the 5-inch slab. So I've got this with all the information on it. Let me zoom in here so I can select that. All I need to do is drag this over into this 5-inch slab. That's not the one I want. I drug it to the wrong one. So let me go ahead and drag it over again. Drag it to the 5-inch slab, and what it loads is it'll load that assembly just like it would load it in Sage. And it gives you the same variables you would fill out in Sage. You could put in your information for your WBS codes here, but it also loads next to it. Here's what we have in eTakeoff. Here's the information that we have in eTakeoff. Same information I'm going to go ahead and enter, but let's go ahead and make this a little bit more intelligent. So the area, so I have an area here. If I grab this and drag it over to the area here, it will now map them. Now they're both the same color, and it says this is mapped to the area over in eTakeoff. I'm going to go ahead and take the strength here and drag it over here, and now that's going to be mapped to the strength, concrete strength that we have in eTakeoff. Same thing I'm going to do with wire mesh and the perimeter. So when I do that, and you can see it's all color coded, so I know what's mapped to what. You know, our motto here is once mapped, always mapped. If this is the first time I'm using this, in this case it is, I will map it once. From here on out for the rest of these, I don't need to map it. It already knows the mapping to what I used. So now what we can do is I'm going to go ahead and, before I finish doing that, let's map some other items here. Let's take the description here, and let's make that our location. We have a bid item here. Let's map that up. We have a building that we've got on this. Let's map that up. Let me scroll over here and let's map a couple other ones here. We have the floor. Let's map that up. We have a system that we have over here. So let's go ahead and map that up. And I believe we have an estimator. And in this case here, it looks like Elvis has estimated these items. So I've actually mapped now the work breakdown structures that we used in eTakeoff with those that apply in my estimate. So I've got everything mapped. I look at this and I got to calculate it. To calculate it, just like you do in Sage, is I'm going to go a pass, and now everything's calculated. Now, that was in semi-automatic mode because it's the first time I did it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to automatic, fully automatic. Since I've mapped it, I don't need to map it again. But now I'm going to go ahead and send it to the estimate. And now that just goes over to the estimate. Now let's go look at our review mode. If I review this, this is the slab that we have here. I can review it by the trace or the items that I have defined in Dimension. Or I can change that and say, show it to me by the assemblies that we have in Sage. So then I can just go in here and hear all the different slabs. So this is, and if I just double click on this, I can review it and I can see what I sent over. Okay? Well, let's go to automatic mode. Since we did it in automatic mode, you can see that now those slabs, it found all of these slabs over here. I'll move this over to the right here. It found every one of these slabs. Also, it did the piers that I did. Now, why did it find those? Well, in a previous project, I already mapped it once, so I don't need to map it again. So anything you've mapped once that you use and then you reuse it, I get to go to this automatic mode. This makes it really powerful. And if I want to, I can review each one of these if I want to. But I already know how they're mapped, so they're going to be perfect. So now all I need to do, and one of the things that we can do here is hit this hide assigned. If I hit that, as I transfer over, you notice this one that we did already transfer over disappeared. It will give me kind of a visual checklist of things that I've taken off and those that are done. And so the only thing that's left on my screen are those things that I still have to transfer over. And you can always turn this off so you can see everything. But this is kind of nice to see my progress of what's being taken off after I've done my takeoff or what I've been transferring over. I'm just going to hit this automatic mode. All 11 of these items now are going to go over to estimating. You can see each one at a time, all been transferred over. So we've just done takeoffs here, and I've shown you a variety of ways to do that. We've taken a number of items and we've transferred them over to Sage estimating. Let's close this down. I'll reduce this, and let's go over and open up that empty estimate. So I have Sage here open. Let's go ahead and open up that estimate. So if I double click on this, this now contains all the information that from the takeoff and the estimate information that we've done. So I can consolidate this, and I can see that I've got my consolidations for everything we've done based on our CSI structure. I can run over to the assemblies, and I can see here are our assemblies. Now, one thing you'll notice here is you'll see next to the quantity, you'll see this little caret here. This little caret tells me, when that shows up, it says these numbers came from eTakeoff. These were not manually entered. If I had done an assembly over here that was not done through eTakeoff, it would not have this caret. That caret simply means, and I call it a caret for lack of better terms, if I right-click on any one of these, I actually can come down here and see a new item called drill down. So when I click on that, what it will do is it'll close the estimate, open up Bridge, and it'll actually open up eTakeoff and load that particular slab that I just right-clicked on. So there is the slab that we have here. There's the item in eTakeoff. So I've got a link back to it. So there is bilateral communication or two-way communication between the two. Now, let's walk through a scenario that often happens. I've done a takeoff. I get a revision, and this slab is changed. So I need to change this slab. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adjust this slab over here, and it's changed in size, and the spec has changed also. I'm going to come over here, and it's gone to 3,500 PSI. Okay. So I've made some changes here. I can hit refresh, and it's intelligent enough to know that, hey, you made some changes on the takeoff. I see that you have an item here that's changed. This little pencil mark here tells me it's changed, so it's itemized it, and it opened it up, and it said, here's what your numbers were before. Here are the changed numbers. What do you want me to do? Well, let's go ahead and accept those. So I'll click this to accept and apply that. So now it's taken these changes. What I kind of like to do is come over here and maybe append this with changes as per, oops, addenda. Now, if I want, I can even add a note to this and just say these are changes made by Mark. And it does not do spell check, unfortunately. Bad for me. So I've done this, and I said, okay, I've made the change to description. I've accepted those changes. Let's go ahead and send that to the estimate. So now let's go on to the estimate here. I don't need to review anything else. Let's close this down here. Let's reduce this. Let's go back to our estimate. It'll actually load the estimate up. And you'll see, here's the change that we made. It actually changed the description. If I right-click on that and I go to edit or go to my review mode, I can see here's my audit trail. So if I want to view my audit pass, I can see here's the first time I did it. There's the second one. That's where it backed it out, the time and date. And then here's the third one that we actually replaced it with because of the change. Here is the note that I put in, changes made by Mark. So you can see the audit goes with everything that we do over there, comes back, so that I never lose what I've taken off. And that's so important when I'm reviewing a project, especially when changes happen, and I need to go back and review and say, well, hold on here a minute, what's going on here? I need to do that. Now, one thought that you could do is you could actually transfer it over to another estimate, the whole thing, after you make changes, which is just create a new estimate and do a bridge between that existing and the estimate and do an auto, and it would do that. Then you have the ability to compare estimate 1 to estimate 2 within Sage, which is one of the things that we can do there. So just in review, and I can go and review any of the other ones that we've done. So what we've done is we've actually created an estimate from Takeoff. We didn't spend any time in estimating other than what we're going to do is maybe manipulate some items and review things. But otherwise, everything happened at the front, which is the first stage everyone goes into for Takeoff. We did that in Takeoff. And then we kept track of the information and the changes that we did. And now it's just a matter of sorting it. So remember we mentioned that we can keep track? Well, Elvis Presley did that stuff here. Let me combine this here. And actually, I'll just summarize it. So there's Elvis, and then here's myself that I did this pier that we did here, and I can drill down on that and see what we've got. You know, this is just in summary mode. So you can see that I can keep track of it by estimator. We're not multi-user yet in Sage. It's something we're working on, so you'll see that hopefully this year in our SQL product. And then a lot of things will change here a little bit too, because you'll have a lot more flexibility. But on the Takeoff side, it's true multi-user and record locking, file locking, and all that stuff. So with that, I wanted to give you a good idea of how this product worked. And let me go back to our slide here. How this product worked, and general information of what the next generation looks like. This is all for sale. We've been selling this since last September when we launched it, so it's all new and huge response. This is, I think, our 4th or 5th set of webinars, and we're averaging 40+ people per webinar, so we've got a high interest rate in this. If you've got some interest and you want to take a closer look at it or want to talk to your business partner, or to our inside salespeople about adding this to your products, please let us know. If you have any questions, here's my contact information on the screen, and I'll leave this for a little bit after when I sign off here so that people can write it down. But you can email me at mark.reich@sage.com. You can call me at this number, and there's my extension. Or you can contact your business partner or the inside CAMs, inside salespeople that we have. I appreciate your time here. If you have any questions, let me take a look here, and I did say that I would answer some questions here. I've got a question. Are shared traces saved traces shared between users or specific to individuals? That's a great question. Actually, the answer is yes to both. If you get the client server app when you do this, where you want to share this on a server, and you want to have the same standard files, or which we call standard files, the same formulas and traces available to everyone, then yes, that would be done through our client server add-on. If you want it individually, then you would just install it on the computer, on your individual computers. You could still grab from your servers the projects. We don't care where the projects are located. Some systems require them to be located in the same computer. We don't care. A lot of times you're going to keep your projects on an iDrive or a server that you want to get access to. That's the way 90% of our customers do that. So that's the answer to that question. I hope that answers that question. Can I show that again? Sorry, I couldn't see the chat, so I don't know what that applies to, so it's hard for me to do that. Can you show how to do multiple room command when you get a second? I'd be more than happy to do that offline. If you want to contact me, I'd be more than happy to schedule a one-on-one with you and answer any questions with any of you if you want to go into detail. And I do a lot of that, so feel free to do that if that's something you'd like to do. Awesome feature. Once you map and then make a change in your takeoff, will it automatically map the changes? I think that we answered that question. Yes, it does. And a number of thank yous. Well, thank you very much, and I'll go ahead and leave this on, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And don't forget to check into the Navisworks webinar that we have this week, and we'll have them again next month. Thank you again.